here. I promise you I won't be like the Worshipful Master today. I will make more mistakes than he does. Or is that impossible? However, it's a great delight and a very special occasion when we are able to offer some money to the hospices. And indeed, we are very privileged, I think, those of us who were able to be at the meeting in Ashford in November, to actually hear the work that the Freemasons Grand Charity is actually doing. The money which it is providing not only for supporting members of the craft and our brethren who are in poor circumstances, but also the amount, the enormous variety of non-Masonic grants which are actually given, including money which is given to the hospices. And it was a wonderful insight, I think, to see where the money which we're trying to raise for the 2014 festival is actually being distributed. But today really is an opportunity of actually drawing a highlight to the money which the Freemasons Grand Charity is donating to hospices in particular. In 2012 alone, some 239 hospices received a total of well over £600,000. And in this particular area, we're very fortunate in having some, I think, wonderful hospices, and we're going to be giving some cheques away today, which are sort of totaling just short of £20,000. So all I can say is it's going to a very worthwhile charities and charitable organisations, which I'm sure will make, as we will hear a bit later on, some very good use of the money which has been funded towards them. Since 1984, the Freemasons Grand Charity has donated something like £9.9 million towards the operating costs of hospices services across England and Wales. And when you think that is quite a considerable amount of money. But hospices in particular, as I'm sure we're going to hear, need that money because they are very short of funding, very little government and national funding, and so they rely on the support of local and national charities to be able to, and local people to try and support those worthwhile charities. The Freemasons Grand Charity, as we learnt from the meeting in October, has donated something like £50 million to national charities since 1981. So you can see a lot of money is going out to other non-Masonic charities, mainly in the fields of medical research, vulnerable people and youth opportunities. And I think it was great to see that the variety of people who are actually receiving money from various charities. What is actually nice to do is actually to go and see some of the activities which some of the charities which are receiving money on our behalf through central funding is actually used. And in the last year we've had the opportunity of going to a number of organisations and seeing the very fine work that they're doing. None less than perhaps going to, in November, going down to Ashford to the Pilgrims Hospice, where they very kindly allowed us to do the presentations to the local charities there. And we were actually able to see some of the fine work that they're doing, and the new call centre, or distribution centre as they call it. Navigation centre, I knew you got that wrong. But it's a wonderful sort of setup which you're going to hear about, which not only looks after the hospice in Ashford, but also deals with a lot of people who need help and support, and their families as well, which we sometimes forget about, throughout the whole of East Kent. And I'm sure that's going to be extended as well to other areas. So it's a wonderful organisations, and the hospices in particular, which we're supporting, and it's a wonderful occasion to be able to present the cheques to them. Now, because they know they want the money early, we've actually presented the money already to you. So I hope you've actually been able to use the money wisely. I'm sure you have. But it means that today is really the opportunity of saying formally to you, we hope that you've accepted the money and be able to use it, and to tell us some of the work that you're actually being able to use that for. So it is with great delight that I actually asked David Holmes if he'd like to come forward first of all, and perhaps receive an envelope with congratulations in it, to say I know you do some wonderful work in Dilza, and although you use perhaps several of the brethren here to actually help and support you as well, and I'm sure you're very pleased to receive their report.
Thank you very much.
So, David, all the best, and I'm sure you can tell us a little bit about where you're going to spend the money.
Thank you, thanks very much. Thank you. Just like to apologise for my jacket today. I feel like I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. I made the hat, he never told me. I've only recently got involved with the Freemasons. I've been at the Melton for about 4 years and became a Freemason a couple of years ago. And we've all got our own specialities, and I was given the Freemasons, so obviously I've got a lot to learn. Briefly, Dilza had a great year last year. There was lots going on. We opened our brand new hydrotherapy pool. We built 2 extra bedrooms. We've actually upgraded the hospice because it's our 15th year this year. And when we opened the new hospice in Elton a few years ago, we realised that the one in Sittingbourne needed a little bit of upgrade. And in fact, when it was built 15 years ago, we only had 1 bathroom. So just get a bit of a queue for the bathroom. So now all the bedrooms share a bathroom, and so we've got a brand new hydrotherapy pool. We've also redone the children's playground this year because that was the same. It was built when it was open, so all that'll be opening very shortly. And it's called HMS Tovil. It's like a big wooden galleon. That'll be great for the children. And it's been designed so even if they're in a wheelchair, they can use the whole thing. So all the facilities are available to everybody. We're also redesigning our memorial garden. That's ongoing progress. So as I say, last year was a very busy year. We now have our hospice up in Elton. It's been going for 4 years, and we also do hospice care at home in East Sussex. So even though we don't have a hospice down in East Sussex, we get nurses that go out to the community. So we cover a massive area now. We're looking after around about 800 children and their families, because it's not just about the children that are poorly at the moment, it's about the whole family, particularly the siblings. You've got a child that's not very well, sometimes the siblings can get pushed to one side. So we allow the parents just to have a bit more time with the siblings, and it just takes a bit of the weight off of them, because if, as I say, if you've got somebody like that, it does take up all your time. So got accommodation at the Mills for the whole family, so when they come down they can go off and do what they like, and they know their child's going to be looked after. So a lot of celebrations this year, and we are going to have a Freemasons evening probably around Easter time. If we can, we'll invite you guys along so you can come and have a look and look at all the improvements that we've had. Thank you very much for your support and your continued support, and can assure the money is good news. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, David. And I think there's an open invitation there for us to come along and see some of the work you do.
Always welcome.
And I think it's very important that Masons do go along and see where they are, because it shows that we have an interest, not just in giving money to you, but seeing some of the work. And I know I'm congratulating those people who are involved, looking in certain directions, because I do know that they do some very hard work and responsible work in that particular area, and we're very grateful that they're giving their support as well. The next presentation that I'd like to give is to the Heart of Kent Hospice, and that is in fact to Nigel Monks. Now, I know Jenny couldn't come here today because she's not very well, but please will you send her our best wishes. And it's lovely to see you here anyway. And to say that, can we give you a presentation? I know you've already had the check, but we're only too pleased to be able to hear some of the work that you're actually doing in the Heart of Kent Hospice.
Okay, well thank you very much. I'm sorry that I'm a poor replacement for Jenny. I don't have her looks, but I should do my best. Thank you very much for this. It means a lot to the Heart of Kent Hospice. It actually costs about £3.8 million a year to run the hospice, from which we get about £800,000 from central funds through the Primary Care Trust. So we have to find £3 million a year from the local community. So this makes a big difference to us, and we thank you for that. The sort of projects that we've been working on this year are actually focusing on enhancing the service that we provide to families at the home, because we have a 12-bed unit based at Preston Hall where people can come and have respite and specialist care. There's actually up to about 350 people being treated at any one time within the Maidstone, Tunbridge and Malling area. So we've restructured our specialist palliative nurses this year and given them a new structure with a wider range of skills to support them. So for example, that we've employed an occupational therapist who can now go and visit people at the home to make sure that their needs are assessed, and if they need special equipment to help them through, it's provided. We've also created a post where patients can phone in the evening, so there's a 24-hour response now, and that's where the majority of our funding's been going this year in terms of new projects. An exciting project that's sort of on the cusp, that's been in development, is actually using technology in the home, whereby we're developing a system that uses laptop computers with a camera. And it's a little bit like a medical form of Skyping, but it provides the carers with additional support in the evenings particularly. So if the patient's symptoms have changed and the carer's worried, they can hit a panic button and they can talk to the specialist team at Preston Hall, who can evaluate the symptoms and help the carer with advice and say, well, you don't need to worry, just do this, that or the other. Or if a specialist nurse needs to be called out, then they can get a nurse there very quickly as a result of that. So that's the sort of work that you're contributing towards and helping us maintain the service. So thank you very much. And just like Mel's, would like to extend the welcome for you to come and see the work that we do at Preston Hall whenever you wish. We delight to show your colleagues.
I think it shows how sort of the modern era is getting into how it can actually work within hospices, and I do think it's important that there is responses and support given to not just the patients themselves, but also to the carers as well, because I think people who are in the unknown situation are not sure what's actually happening. So I think it's very important to see some of that incredible work that you're doing, and I'm sure we'd like to take up their offer to come and see you as well. The next presentation we'd like to give to is to Ellenor Lions Hospice and John Pooley, who's come to receive the presentation. We accept the fact that you've got a West Kent but that shows really that we're all together and we're all working to the same end, and it's a great opportunity to say thank you for the work that you're doing, and obviously your involvement in two folds, both from a Masonic point of view and also from the hospice as well, with the good work that you're doing down there. So all I can say is, nice to give you the cheque, and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you. I trust you will allow me to talk a little about our newest service. About 2 or 3 years ago, Ellenor Lions was approached by Kent County and asked if we could help with a gap they had servicing the needs of children in the southern part of West Kent, which includes Tunbridge Wells, Maidstone, Tunbridge and so on. We were pleased to do that with their financial help. We set up an organisation called CHIPS, which some of you may have heard about. We have teams of specialist nurses who actually go into the homes of the children and help them and their siblings. As my colleague from Dilza quite rightly pointed out, it is important to remember the problems that siblings have. For example, we have a team of specialist nurses who are able to administer most of the chemotherapies required by children in their own homes. So parents haven't got to take time off work to travel to, for example, London to take a child for chemotherapy on sometimes a weekly or even a daily basis in some cases. So that has benefited both the parents and siblings to a large extent. Now, this service, of course, costs a great deal of money, and that's where a great portion of your kind donation will be going this year. Now, I've been given some quotes which you might be interested in. This is genuine quotes from real parents. One of them, the first one says, "I haven't heard anything from anyone else. You're the only one who is wrong." A nurse says to a patient, "We're here for the whole family to support you through this difficult time." Reply, "No one has ever said this to me before, and I've had lots of professionals who visit me." Last one I'd like to share with you. "We are really happy you're involved. So much has been done since you were around." And they were genuine comments from parents who we were able to help. Now, like my colleagues, I'll be glad to extend a welcome if anyone wishes to visit the hospice. Your Provincial Grand Secretary has my contact details, and I'll be glad to arrange a tour for anyone who wishes to come. We like to keep numbers down to about half a dozen, so as not to disturb any patients. So if anyone is interested or a lodge wants to visit in that sort of numbers, please don't hesitate to contact me. I also have a number of these leaflets with me. If anyone is particularly interested and wishes to have them, please ask me afterwards. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
And last but not least, I come to the Pilgrims hospices, which is 3 hospices based in Ashford, Canterbury and Thanet. And Lindsay Good, who I know quite well, is actually going to receive the presentation. And just to say, I'm amazed by the amount of work that you do in the hospices that I visited in that area. Lindsay.
Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, sorry. We're used to this.
It's a great pleasure to be here and have the opportunity once again to thank both the Grand Lodge and the Province and Freemasonry in general, really, for the tremendous support that Pilgrims Hospice and the hospice movement have had over many years. In fact, although I know I look very young anyway, but I'm still technically a young Mason, as I only came into the craft in 2005. And before then I wondered a little bit about us funny chaps who are in Freemasonry. And then I found that so many of them, in both a private capacity, were supporting the hospice and of course Freemasonry on an official basis, that I thought I'd be better off in it as well. And never regretted it, because the good charity work that has been done for our own hospices by Freemasonry is so much appreciated. We've been operating now for 30 years. We've just come to the end. We're just now in our 31st year and started off with 5 beds operating in Canterbury. We now have 3 hospices with 16 beds in each, which is 48, I think, if my maths is correct. 48 beds. We also operate care in the community from our community nurses. And that care has been developed into a rapid response hospice at home system, whereby we are gradually developing the expertise to allow more people to spend their final days at home, if that is their choice, rather than coming to the hospice, which I think is a very important factor. All of my colleagues have spoken about the care that their hospices offer to the family and the carers of our patients, and I think that that is very often a misunderstood and unappreciated aspect of the work that we do. It is very, very important that the families of our patients are supported as much as possible to get them through what is a very, very difficult time for all concerned. We've just introduced a system which we call our navigation system. We thought for a couple of minutes about a navigation centre. We thought about calling it a call centre, but then we thought people might think they're going to be transferred to India or something. So we thought we'd better try and keep it local, as a local charity. And people have the ability to ring, carers or patients ring at any time, night or day, and we all know that the most difficult time in any time is probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden you're anxious about something. It may be a realistic concern, it may be simply that someone needs a bit of reassurance. But instead of as at the, or previously, there would be a number of telephone numbers. Should I ring for an ambulance? Do I need a doctor? Should I contact the hospice? What do I do? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The one that I care for is in a serious state. What do I do? Which number do I ring? Sometimes I'll just ring for an ambulance, be whisked off to the hospital, which is the worst place in that particular circumstance that they should be. And so we have set up these navigation centres which allow people to ring that one number, get the advice and the help that they need from our qualified team who are based there. Now this was very, very kindly supported when we throw open our doors in our day centre to the province of East Kent when they had the event which the Deputy Provincial Grand Master has just referred to. We were very pleased and privileged to offer facilities there, and we showed everybody around the hospice, and including the navigation centre, and a very generous donation was received as a result. So we're very grateful for that as well, and very grateful for the support that we have had in the past, and I'm sure in the future. So hopefully the money that you have given will help us to continue to develop our care at home, develop our care as far as the navigation centre is concerned, which at the moment is restricted just to our own patients, but hopefully will extend out to other members of the community who are terminally ill as well. And so it's always onwards and upwards. We always need more money. We currently need £10 million a year for the 3 hospices. That I'm sure will grow in the future. And we couldn't do it without the benefit and the support of people like you. Thank you so much for all your very generous support over the years. Thank you very much.
Of course, Lindsay had to say some nice words about the province and me in particular, because I initiated him into his lodge in Ashford. He still remembers that, so do I as well.
A few mistakes anyway as well.
Your career is suddenly gone But just to say, we've had 4 wonderful little talks about what goes on in the hospice movement in our own province of East Kent, and I assure you, having visited some of them, that the work which is done by them is wonderful. Unless you actually go into a hospice, you probably don't realise the amount of work which is actually going on behind the scenes. The carers who work there, perhaps up front, but it's all the ones behind who are actually giving help and support, not only to the patients themselves, but also to the families. And I think it's so important that they're being looked after so they know what to expect. I remember when I first went into the Pilgrims Hospice in Ashford, it was one of the first I've ever been into, when it was just opened. And at that particular time, I hardly dared go through the door, not sure what to expect. But it was only when I actually met some of the carers, not necessarily the patients themselves, because they want to have their own quiet and reassurance with their own families. But it's all the people who are in the background team, and it's all those people, I think, who need the help and the support to make sure they can provide those services. And you've heard examples today from all the hospices of the things they're actually providing for people in the area. And all I can say is, I hope we can, in due time this year, perhaps take up your very kind offers to come and visit your hospices. And I hope that the Freemasons charity will continue to be able to provide help and support to you. So on behalf of the Freemasons Grand Charity, and indeed the members of this lodge and the members of the province, thank you for what you're doing on behalf of people in East Kent. Thank you.
Honoured guests and brethren, charity and benevolence are issues, virtues that are very close to the hearts of Freemasonry and go to the very core of our fraternity. They really are the central plank of our interaction with our communities and the charities that we hope to support. And therefore the role of a charity steward is obviously very important, it's very key. But this office didn't really come with any job description or terms of reference, save that the one that all charity stewards have, which is to support our charitable giving. My predecessors, Stewart, Tony Den and John Grumbridge, will tell you that it's actually all about administration. How many plates can you keep spinning and sadly, yes, a few do fall. So it's about really your time. So when the alarm goes off in the morning, it's very much a scene of Wallace and Gromit. You know, he's sort of poured out of bed into the shower, shaved and into a suit and out the door, with just a bit of time to ponder why people think I look like Peter Hagger in the mirror. So by 6:45, I'm at my desk with a Costa's coffee in hand, the computer screen flickers to life, and the inbox starts to ping with all the emails that come through. Now, brethren, why is it? I've got two questions. Does insomnia just affect Freemasons? Or is it just charity stewards? And why is it when you tire of counting sheep, or the money you've got in your relief chest, do you turn to fiendish and devilish questions about gift aid and send them at 2 o'clock in the morning? Because my inbox is a testament to both of those things. And it's probably also a testament to the fact that over the last 50 years or so since we've had charity stewards, the office of a charity steward has developed greatly. Where once all you had to do was know about the aims and objectives of the four, well in those days it was 3 Central Masonic charities, and to run the occasional raffle, now we expect a great deal more of you. We ask you to organise social events and fundraise, maintain audited accounts and records, know about tax efficient ways of giving money, and then lastly to be able to promulgate that information to your brethren, and also about where we are with the festival and where we stand with our charitable giving. I don't think we perhaps do enough for you in that regard. We certainly host seminars for charity stewards around the province, and are indebted to David Pugh for arranging those. Recently we had one in Dover that Bob Ailing, who can't be with us today, organised, and at that we started to roll out a national document. Now in this province we've been quite fortunate because over the years we've had charity stewards handbooks, and this one is a national document. We're very pleased that we had a co-author, was Steward Co. And yes, don't look skyward, it's a very good document. It's a number of things. It's certainly got a foundation, the core information that charity stewards need in order to do their work. It certainly points out that they're not expected to do everything on day one, so it develops their skills and abilities, and also it's a reference document. You can put additional and up-to-date information in, particularly in relation to things such as gift aid, and it also has copies, examples of accounts that you should keep, etc. It's a very good handbook. Every charity steward in the province should have a personalised hard copy. There's also copies of it electronically on the Provincial website and the Grand Charity website, so please have a look at it. It's a really good document. I recommend it to you. And I apologise, brethren, because I've had a bit of the lurgy, so a little drink as well. Developing that theme of helping charity stewards, we're going to have our inaugural Charity Stewards Dinner on the 14th of March. Now, invites have gone out to all of the charity stewards and to the executive as well. But brethren, if there's any of you here that wish to come along, please, it's going to be at the St George's Hotel. Chris Watson is actually looking after the bookings for that. It's limited at this stage to 110 people, and it is selling out, so it will be really good to see all of you there if you can make it. And we've actually got a guest speaker that night, who is Sahel Lalan, who's the Business and Finance Director of the Freemasons Grand Charity, to talk about where the Central Masonic charities are going to next. The other thing that my inbox contains, and I do send and receive several thousand emails each month now, which for those of you that know, I've got a new email address with Provincial Grand Charity Steward. That's purely because, although Sky say, oh, unlimited email, they actually do have a fair usage policy, and they say that I've exceeded it. So I'm having to use several email accounts these days in order to get that information out. Typically, I have a few emails regarding events that are going on. Those of you, Mark Bassant and Ray Hubbard, around the Panto. really shows Freemasonry in the heart of the community. And the fact you don't actually have to wear a frock, Roger, in order to achieve it. I think the image of 500 excited and very excited children that afternoon being marshalled by Jim Mason and other stewards, or trying to be marshalled by Jim Mason and other stewards. They're often disadvantaged children who had an absolutely wonderful time there. You know, really, that's real Freemasonry in the heart of the community. Very, very well done. Other things, I'm very fortunate in that we have Proms of the Province. Freemasonry and charity is not all about putting your hands in your pocket. It's about giving that most valuable of your time, your valuable commodity. And we have a team of group of Freemasons who've never organised an event before. We've got the core of the band of the Royal Engineers coming to do Proms in the Province. I think it's 27th of July next year. And Rob Spinks is supervising the efforts for that. It's a real family entertainment. And also Tom Sutton, who's doing the Winter Warmer 3 at the Mercure Hotel on the 8th of February. I should thank here the brethren from the province, the symbolic penalties, the entertainers who give their time for free and make sure that we actually achieve a great deal in terms of not only enjoyment but actually raising money as well. And that actually keeps our treasurer Phil Lumley very, very busy indeed. But on this particular day, one of the things that I'm doing is actually one of the privileges I have, which is to go to represent this province on the Council of the Freemasons Grand Charity. Now, about a week beforehand, a pile of papers arrive. It's about 4 or 5 inches thick. Typically, about 150 so cases are looked at each month and assessed. They come with financial assessments, they come with appraisals, but brethren, they're heartbreaking. The stories of those brethren in need and distress is truly sobering, and there, but for the grace of God, go many of us, I can assure you. Now, over the last 32 years or so since it was established, the Freemasons Grand Charity has given away about £110 million. We've got about £50 million to non-Masonic, and the remainder to non-Masonic, the remainder to Masonic grants. And that's why we have to look at these numbers as we do. We sit down about 9 o'clock in the morning and go through the day's the papers for that morning. Last occasion was 146 individual applications, of which the vast majority were approved. By lunchtime, we've increased the spend for Masonic grants to £4.5 million for 2012. 58 of those are in this province alone, and they receive about £150,000 a year. So that £2,300, which is the average, isn't a vast sum, but it makes a great difference to those that actually receive it. It means all the difference between survival and being below the poverty line. In 2013, that is due to increase, we think, to about £4.8 million. When we sit down with the papers, I have to tell you there is no budget, there's no cap, so, no genuine case of need is ever rejected. We are not limited by the amount we spend. Gloomily, the predictions from the financial advisors are that before the end of this recession, that will increase, well, the money we need to cover just Masonic relief grants will increase to about £6.5 million over the next few years. But there are various committees, and once we finish with the Masonic relief grants, I like to go to the non-Masonic side. Now, the non-Masonic side does have a budget. It's about £2.5 million for 2012, and it's going to be the same for 2013. I won't go through all of the money that we've given away on those sides, but we'll concentrate on the hospice grants, which we've heard were about £600,000 and were actually dealt with at the last meeting. 239 hospices, many of them in this province. One of the other things we actually had when we looked at the amount we gave to hospices this time was a report on how we divide that cake up. Just so you know, we only give money to those, I think it's that receive less than 60% of their funding from government and health services, and we give an amount per bed. So it's a per capita, per bed amount, and then there is a set sum for outreach and for daycare. But there's actually at the moment, there's no qualification around how many people are actually helped through those hospices, and that's something we're looking at for future years. Do we actually divide the money up around the number of people helped as opposed to the number of beds, which is the main criteria? We also have, because it's a year end, a slight underspend of £145,000, and we allocated that money to a number of charities, £20,000 here in East Kent. The thing is that day alone we actually had 67 applications for £1 million worth of grants. So we had to turn down, I think, about 62 of them. That means there's a huge need in our communities. And it also means that we are often those that are turned to provide that relief and that assistance. In the afternoon there is the council itself and a paper around the consideration of what happens to the four central charities. As you know, they've been co-located a couple of years ago in the basement, or the charity floor as it's called, at Great Queen Street, and there are certainly a lot more cooperation there. Together they spend about £30 million a year, which means that our Masonic charities are certainly larger than the Stroke Association, Mind, and in financial terms even the Salvation Army. So it's quite a substantial enterprise that is there. The recommendations aren't really that much of a change, but there is certainly recognised that we have a commitment to our brethren and to the charities that we serve to make sure that our overheads are reduced, there's better collaboration, better ways of working. Some of the things that, just so you know, that are up for consideration at the moment are the Freemasons Grand Charity provides money for medical research. Should that be transferred to the Samaritan Fund? Children's hospices, should that money be allocated instead from the girls and boys? So better ways of working and making sure that our money goes as far as possible. There's also at the Grand Council an update on what's happened in the past, and one of the ones that we recently heard was in 2010 you donated £100,000 to assist with the clinical trials of a drug to help multiple sclerosis, and they've actually been successful, and that's going forward to be licensed this year. And then obviously said that. So that, another example of where your money goes and the good work that it does. Lastly, there was a sobering report from the Finance Committee. I'm not allowed to sit on that because I'm part of Barclays Bank, so I'm not allowed to sit on the investments and the not because it's Barclays, but any banking on that side of things. As the Freemasons Grand Charity, that's the working title, you have to understand that all of our money comes from Freemasons and their dependents. We're not cute, we're not fluffy, there's no groundswell of public opinion that sends money to Great Queen Street. We don't have celebrities endorse us, and our Deputy Provincial Grand Master and other members of the executive certainly don't appear in magazines, well, not yet anyway. So we are entirely funded by Freemasons and their dependents. We are entirely reliant on Masonic giving. And you all contribute this year a levy of £17 per head that goes towards that. Now that's £17 per head. It's gone up £1 this year. Actually brings in £3.7 million. But I've already told you that Masonic relief grants are going to be £4.8 million this year. Where once we had a festival system which supported the Central Masonic charities and evened out the peaks and troughs and maintained prestigious awards, the festival has gone from being a nicety to a necessity. Without the festival system now, we would not have enough money to pay for Masonic relief grants. So quite rightly, the thrust of this province at the moment is around the 2014 festival. And I'm helped greatly in that regard by the Provincial Charity Committee. Now, I think established by the foresight of John Grumbridge about 15 years or so ago, John. These individuals are really the backbone of charitable giving in this province. We meet about once a month. We're blessed with a number of talented and respected Masons. We meet often over a curry, which is something I've sadly introduced. In addition to those already mentioned, I should read out the other names of those who are involved. Stan Donald, Matt Cheeseman, Arthur, good to see you, Arthur, Dave Barden, Tyrone Ripley, John Jones, Derek Clemens, and Brian Powell as well. And Dick Barden, I should say. In 2008, we asked lodges and chapters how much the Brethren and Companions would be able to donate towards the 2014 festival. And you responded with a marvellous £3 million. And I'm pleased to tell you that we have now breached £2.6 million on the way to that, meeting that necessary amount that I've told you about. The Provincial Charity Committee agenda currently has things such as the festival closing. We've already chosen a date. It's going to be the 28th of June 2014. John and Tyrone have put together a paper for the Provincial Grand Master around the venues where we can hold and the theme that we can have for that closing. We're not blessed with very many decent venues in. We're not blessed with very many venues across the province. The Provincial Grand Master was particularly keen that it was held in the province so that it was accessible both in geographical and financial terms to the brethren that have actually contributed towards the festival. One of the problems we have is there are not very many centres that are big enough to cope with the numbers, and as soon as you go away from those centres and you go outside to places such as Detling or the cruise terminals down at Dover and have outside catering come in, the costs go up exorbitantly. The Provincial Grand Master was given a paper on the venues that are suitable, a short list of those just before Christmas, and hopefully that will be announced where that venue will be in the next couple of weeks. Brethren, these are challenging times. I'm so very pleased that you've been able to support us in order to achieve that £2.6 million and also have that lifeline of support to your local charities and your local communities as well. At the moment, projected about half of the lodges and chapters, just over half the lodges and chapters, will receive a Provincial Grand Master's Award, and I'm indebted to Dick Barton for actually producing and sending those awards out to lodges. Many of you now proudly wear the festival jewel. Indeed, this lodge, including David when he remembers his, 1,300 of these have now been issued, so thank you very much for supporting and showing your support and commitment to the festival. So worn and weary, I make my way home and I ask my wife if she's actually sent these out, because she actually does most of the administration and sends those out. And worn and weary, I do look in the mirror, and that's when I realise why I do look a bit like Peter Haggard, or he looks like me. Brethren, in recalling my day, please realise that the efforts of the Office of Provincial Charity Steward are actually performed by you all, without whose loyalty and dedication our almoners can't do their work. And in that regard, I'm also indebted to Mike G, because for the last year or so while we're doing this job, it's surprising the interaction that Mike and I have in order to progress our charities. Brethren, we're not complacent about where we stand. and the need to get another £400,000 in the next year or so. Please accept my personal thanks for your contribution and your commitment. Many of the people we've heard about today, and we've had some marvellous examples, you know where your money now goes. They don't always have a voice, and they're not always able to thank you, so on their behalf, thank you very much. Thank you.